You get to Denver. What are your first impressions of Nikola Jokic?
He's one of like I didn't like so before I got there, I didn't have no impression on or try to think like how he is. I was just like, okay, let me just go see how he is in person. And when I first seen him, I'm like, bro, it don't even feel real. Like this is how Yoke act. Like coming off of being an MVP. So like, dang, like this guy's very humble. Like he doesn't want to talk about no accolades. Like it's just straight work and it ain't nothing else. Like it's all about team and winning. And everything else, all the accolades is just like it's not. I'm not saying like he don't care about it, but he don't speak about it. He don't want to talk about it. Like it's just okay. Just throw it to the side. I just want to win a championship and multiple championships. That's really just his day to day approach. And I'm like, man, like just to have a teammate like that, and like man, because that's something that that's a dream of mine. I want to accomplish that as well too. So just to see that from him, like man, like that's a very humble guy. And I'm a humble guy myself. So just look at Yoga, like man, you want somebody like that leading your franchise, and like man, like you can look at Yoke and be like, man, Yoke doing it, Yoke a back-to-back MVP. He's a very humble guy, and that's something that a kid can look up to.
Yeah, I would argue that he is, Tommy, the most unassuming NBA superstar potentially of all time. Like I would probably throw Tim Duncan in that as well. Timmy was like that. So I did y'all's game a couple weeks ago in Denver against the Lakers.
Yeah.
And I went with the ESPN crew to STK afterwards.
Yeah.
And the staff was like, oh, Jokic is coming in tonight. Jokic is coming in. So he rolls in with his brothers, of course. And he comes over and says hi to our table. He comes over to me and he's like, yo, I didn't even know you were doing ESPN. I'm not on social media.
Yeah.
I don't really know anything. That's awesome. He's like, I know you have the podcast. And I had to shoot my shot. So I'm like, you're welcome on the show anytime. Anytime. I know you probably would never do it. And he's like, yeah, you're right. I'd never do it.
That's really him, yo. He don't want to do anything regarding no thing that's going to be on social media, man. He does not have he has zero interest in that.
Think about this. This guy has won 2 MVPs. I just looked it up today. He's number one almost every advanced stat. Like so Raptor 538's advanced stat, like all encompassing advanced stat. He's number 1 in the league again this year.
Yep.
This dude is like the best or one of the best NBA players in the world, and all we know about him is that he likes horses. Like that's all we know about him.
You don't know anything. I'm his teammate. That's all I know. I'm his teammate, bro. That's all I know is that he likes horses. He's just on his phone and he watching horses all day. Like it's literally all you will know about him. Like his private life, you won't know. Like nothing. Like I was recently just on a flight with his wife, and I'm like, wait, that's Yoke's wife. And I was under weather, so I didn't want to go over there. She had the baby. I didn't want to, go over there and talk to them and get something to them. They have a newborn. So I'm like, man, this is, they come back on a flight, like just to see how, private they are. That's something that you will look forward to or look up to as well too, just to see how off the grid they are.
Was there a particular play, maybe a pass or something like that, when you first got to Denver, where you're like, oh yeah, this dude is just different?
Yeah, the one in I think it was against the Spurs. It was a pick and roll play. Came off. They hit him in the pocket. No, they loft the ball over. He knew the guy was coming over and just smacked it. He didn't even look at AG. He just smacked it and he didn't even look at him. AG caught it and just dunked it. I'm like, bro, like, how did you know he was just there and you just tipped the ball like it was a volleyball? Bro, that was like one of the craziest passes I ever seen in my life. He didn't even look at it. It's literally like he loft it and he just tapped it and then went to AG and banged it. I'm like, man, that's insane, bro. Crazy.
He has some crazy highlight passes, but there is something. Maybe you'll agree with me. Maybe you'll push back. There's something that's very ho-hum about his game, partially because of just how he moves. He just kind of moves at his own speed and his own cadence. But I get into an argument all the time with my 8-year-old son Knox because we'll ask him, who's your favorite players, and he'll say Steph, Luka.
Yeah.
And one day he said to me, you know who my least favorite player is? And I was like, no. He was like, Jokic. I'm like, Jokic? Why? Why is Jokic your least favorite player? And he says, Well, he doesn't have any good YouTube highlights. That's what he told me. And I'm like, what YouTube highlights are you watching, bro? Because the game I was doing against y'all, he had this ridiculous one-legged step back from the top of the key.
Yes,
I was just like, that's sick. That's sick.
That's
like,
a highlight. I think it's because it's not so flashy. It's not like he got a real old school slow game. Like a lot of people, and that's why I feel like he don't get a lot of press in the NBA because like I feel like they think, oh, it's not going to bring back revenue or it's not going to bring back this, and so I feel like they don't cover him as much. Just the fact on like he's not an exciting player, but when you really watch him. But he's doing some exciting things, though. You just really have to watch the game, So
yeah,
I don't know.
I think that brings up a good point, and there's an element not only for casual NBA fans, but there's an element for even Twitter diehards where I think we sort of take him for granted as a teammate night to night. Do you ever find yourself taking what he does for granted?
Nah, not at all. Like I take pages out of his book as far as routine and trying to like because last year I was struggling as far as like trying to figure out a routine and understand like this is a long season. You have to have a routine in the NBA. You just can't just go with the flow and try to like figure it out on the way. That you will get lost in the sauce. And I was finding myself lost for like 5-6 games. I'm like, man, like I got to figure out a routine. And one game after one game, I'm like, man, like I just literally just watched Yoke, and I'm like, man, let me see what he does. So he just did his whole routine, whether it's a win or a loss. I'm like, man, like that's really allowing him to prevent poor performance. Whether we lose or we win, like he's literally preventing poor performance due to a routine and following that routine every day and being disciplined to and understanding, like, man, like I have to do this routine to prevent injury or prevent this, prevent that. So I follow his routine, not like follow his, but like I follow like, man, I got to get my own routine and figure out what works for me. And I found it, and I'm like, man, I started to see my game just elevate and rise. So that's something that I definitely took a page out of your book for sure.
Speaking of taking it for granted, and JJ, I'm curious your opinion on this too, just for the fans listening, as shooters, as a shooter who plays with them, as a shooters play with a lot of good passing bigs, can you explain how his game optimizes the skill set of shooters in a particular way? Because I do feel like it's something you guys in particular might notice rather than sort of people who are not taking advantage of it as much.
I feel like, so you're saying like reword it for me, because
he's such an incredible passer, and like Luke is like this, LeBron's like such an incredible passer that he has the ability to create open looks in a way that other guys might not be able to.
Yeah, for sure. Just the fact that he just generates so much attention on the court. Like I feel like if you in the corner, like if he gets the ball in a certain spot on the floor, the pass is coming. Like he just whip it to the corner out of nowhere, but you to have your hands ready. So just playing with a guy like that can make those passes, I feel like average, like not even an average NBA player, because it's superstars in the NBA right now that can't make those passes, and you'll be in the corner wide open. So that's something that I don't take for granted just playing with Yoke, because like he's literally finding you, when a lot of other guys like in the league, if you're playing with somebody else, they won't find you being in the corner, deep corner like that. Like it's just so much attention that he's generating. Like you have to be ready to knock down a shot, and I feel like you can get easily 8 to 10 points just by being in the game. For that little spurt of time with him, just being in the game with him and just being ready to shoot the ball. So that's something that I don't take for granted. Playing on a team with Yoke.
Yeah, I think it's the timing of the passes. Like he's never a beat late, and he can sort of anticipate that help defender leaning the wrong way, so his movement's coming into the paint, and as soon as he sees that, the ball's on a zip line right to you, on time, on target, right? Those are the best passes if you're a shooter, on time, on target. Yep. Actually, in 2019, when I was a free agent, it became sort of clear that Philly was not going to give me a real contract offer, and so I was sort of looking at other options, and Denver was an option. It was for the full mid-level. On a 2-year deal, and I really wanted a 3rd year. But like that was the reason. I mean, I was like, I can go play with Jokic, and for me, somebody who moves without the ball and cuts a lot, or I did cut a lot. I can't cut anymore, but I did cut a lot. Like I just envisioned like, oh, I'm gonna get 2 wide open threes
Yep.
and 2 layups every game without even having to like create. I just gotta move
at all. And I feel like, just like on that aspect where I said like it's you literally get 8 to 10 points just be being in a game with him just in literally a 4-minute spurt. Like you literally could get 8 to 10 points just by just being ready, moving without the ball, cutting, setting the screen for him, and then, rolling to the basket. He just dime you easily. He got a wild layup. So that's just playing with him and understanding how he plays and also like generate my own flair, in that, I'm like, dang, man, you definitely got something for sure. Like, as far as the team, like, man, you got something. Like, it's just so much dynamic scores. And also a guy like Yoke that can pass like that, yeah, it's definitely trouble.